Hey guys, Dr. Shook here. I hope you're doing well today. Today what I want to talk to you guys about is excessive iron and how it can cause problems with Hashimoto's or recovery from any autoimmune condition. Guys, before I get into this, remember if you like this video, please help us help other people and share the video. If I see that there are a lot of shares on the video, I'm going to talk more about these types of issues, okay? So maybe I'll delve more into iron-related problems. So anyway, let's go ahead and talk about iron and how primarily we're going to focus on high levels of iron and how that can be a problem. But we're also going to talk about low levels quite a bit because that's a really common issue as well. But the high levels of iron, it's really important to know that high levels of iron are very toxic. We know that iron in high levels is more toxic than lead and mercury in the body. So it can be very dangerous. And in particular, we know that it can accumulate in the brain. So that's obviously not a good thing. Iron, being inflammatory as well, can damage part of the brain called the basal ganglia, where it can accumulate and build up. And it can lead to movement disorders and dementia. So if you have high levels of iron, it can create this reaction called a Fenton reaction that will cause you to feel horrible. And it really is just kind of like the iron rusting or oxidizing inside your body. If you think about iron in nature, something that's made of iron, it can turn to, it can rust. Well, in your body, that process is called oxidation, and in particular, we call it a Fenton reaction. And it can make you feel horrible, and it's very inflammatory. So you can't have that occurring for a long period of time at all. So the brain is very susceptible to high levels of iron, guys. So what are some of the reasons that it can be high? Well, it's not that uncommon, but there's a genetic disorder called hemochromatosis, which is genetic, and it's where you just store iron excessively at high levels. So what you have to do is your doctor will prescribe a therapeutic blood draw. You give blood, and that helps to lower the levels of the iron. And you have to do that periodically just to keep the levels down so that you don't have problems with the brain and also the liver. It can create a lot of issues there. So some of the things that you can do is just avoid iron supplements if you store iron excessively. Be aware that vitamin C and orange juice contribute to increased absorption of iron, okay, because it's acidic, so it helps to break it down and absorb it. Avoid alcohol because that can impair liver function, and that can affect your body's ability to utilize the iron. You can avoid shellfish. Some people that store iron are susceptible to bacteria that can actually feed off of it. So one of the things that you can do is avoid shellfish can be helpful. And then avoiding red meats, because red meat has the highest, most absorbable form of iron to us. So avoiding red meats, a good thing to do to help keep iron lower if it tends to be too high. And then also avoiding sugar, because sugar will also increase absorption of iron. So these are really common things that we'll see with excessive iron, and it can be very inflammatory. A lot of times people that might have low iron will start taking a supplement, and they may feel good for a few days, and then they may feel terrible. Well, I'm going to tell you, that the Fenton reaction, the oxidation, the internal rusting basically of the iron may be occurring, and you cannot have that. That can't persist, guys. You gotta work with your doctor to figure out what the best strategy is going to be to raise your iron levels, because the inflammatory response can really create a lot of issues. So let's just touch briefly though on low levels of iron and the problems with it, because low levels of iron can really make it impossible to heal. And one of the reasons that it can be so it can hamper your recovery so much is because iron is really critical for your red blood cell formation. So if you're low in iron, you have heavy menstrual cycles, if you're losing blood, if you have poor absorption and you can't absorb iron properly, if you have poor or low stomach acidity and you can't absorb iron properly, then your red blood cells may get smaller in size and the color will change, the chromicity that we call it. So if they get smaller in size and they're not quite as red, we can see that on a complete blood count, a red blood cell count with differential, and it will show us, the CBC with differential will show us all these different characteristics of your red blood cells and tell us if your body's shifting towards an anemic state. Anemia means that you just don't have the right quantity, the color, or the size of the red blood cells, okay? And what do the red blood cells do that's so important, guys? They carry oxygen. And if you can't carry oxygen to the cells of your body, you can't recover and repair. So it's critically important, and it's something that you've got to have adequate levels of iron. We routinely, very, very frequently, are trying to help people with figuring out and working on the drivers of low iron, more so than high iron. But we do see high levels of iron. We see it with genetic issues like hemochromatosis. We see it with excessive intake of iron. People don't know they're just taking iron pills, and they just keep taking them and no one's ever checking it, so they get too much iron. and it can create a lot of issues. But low iron is really common, especially with heavy menstrual cycles. So we're constantly working with people to figure out what's going on with the hormones, or what is causing the excessive blood loss with menstruation. If there are absorption issues, then we're investigating the gut. If there's low stomach acidity, we're investigating the gut. And we're trying to help people figure out what's driving these problems. So guys, I hope this has been helpful. This iron's critically important. You've got to have it. So the best way to check it, by the way, that I prefer is ferritin. It's the stored form of the body. And then looking at something called a saturation percentage. The saturation percentage of iron, I like it to be around 33% or so. That's about ideal for people that I work with. So guys, I hope this has been helpful, and I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. Please do share this. Help us help other people if you found this valuable. And join me again in the next day or so, and we'll go into some other topics. Please comment. Let us know how we can help you. If there's anything that you'd like for me to cover in particular, then I'll do my best to get to it. And see if we can't just help everybody to become their own advocates, take their health back, and be better partners with their healthcare providers, so that we can get healthy naturally. Guys, I appreciate you so much. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thanks.